Well, I finally pretty well finished unpacking all the stuff that I've had in boxes out in the garage for years and years. Some of the stuff I hadn't seen since the late 90s. It had been packed up so long. So for the first time, I actually have things like my own separate bedroom and my own office. I just finished setting up my library. I'm going to take you back and I'm going to show you that. Show you what it looks like. It used to be my dad's office. So now I've got my office over here to the right, where I do all my daily work to keep myself afloat. For a while that was my bedroom also, but ever since I inherited this house with my brother from my dad when he passed away last year, I've got my own bedroom here in the back, which is the first time I've had my own bedroom in quite a while. And I got my office here, or rather my library I'm going to show you. We'll go ahead and step on in here. I guess first I'll show you what's behind the door here. I've got some really nice Spain Rodriguez art from an underground comic book called Subvert Number 2. These are pretty famous pages, in fact. And they're here because I have my complete underground comic collection on the bottom few shelves. And it's pretty epic, actually. It includes stuff like my mini comics and that Onward Through the Fog sticker. I actually got that at Oat Willie's in Austin, Texas, summer 1978. Same place I met Gilbert Shelton the first time when he signed one of my Freak Brothers books I've got here. Then I also got shelves with a complete set of National Lampoon magazines along with a bunch of the related ephemera. And along with that I keep my Saturday Night Live stuff. There's even an old Saturday Night Live game there. And I have all my Edgar Rice Burroughs collectibles, which includes everything from DVDs to rare books and old tapes and toys and books. Over on the other side I've got a book rack over here with all Edgar Rice Burroughs paperbacks, including a lot of the Frank Frazetta covers. And I keep a lot of the horror books back here. And there's a shelf full of children's books up top. Got a lot of old puzzles and things like that. And the back corner is still the way my dad had it set up here. I'm still working on the photo archive that he and I started. That's all this stuff right here. I've been going through photos dating back to the early 20th century and trying to identify everybody and label them and put them in order in photo albums. Scanning negatives that we didn't have prints of with a old photo scanner I've got here. Actually a fairly new one. Plugs right into a computer and turns them into negatives. So there's that there. Back corner here, these two paintings on the wall. They actually have neon in both of them that you can plug in and light up. And I got a collection of Dark Shadows memorabilia here. This is where I keep my keyboard and my violin and my bass. Or I come back and play music once in a while. And I got a fairly epic Twilight Zone collection, including a lot of the signed trading cards signed by the creators and stars of the show quite a few years ago. A lot of them have passed since those were put out. A whole bunch of other Twilight Zone stuff. My Twilight Zone watch that I still wear when I go out. Twilight Zone watch here. As the time goes by, the little eyeball spins around and all the little icons appear in the little doorway there from the opening of the show. So I got a lot of stuff from my articles about Boris Karloff's Thriller. I keep all that stuff all in one place. A lot of my interview tapes. And I got shelves and shelves full of books on animation history and television and film history, several shelves worth. A lot of these books date back to the 70s that my mom bought and gave me. And I have a whole lot of graphic novels that one of my favorites that survived all the raids on my storage unit that people stole stuff from me. This is the few things that survived, including my Sandman collection. Still have all those in the slip cases. There's the other diner painting that has actual neon on there you can plug in and light up. The top shelf has a whole bunch of comic strip reprints, piles of Doonesbury's, and Calvin and Hobbes and Farsides, and inherited my mom's Star Trek collection, which is kind of an epic little mini collection she had. A lot of neat stuff. So, also keep back here things like my movie poster collection. And these are the few treasury editions that survived the raids on my storage unit. I got probably several hundred movie posters. There's only a few dozen of them, though, that I keep here in the display cases, kind of. Most of them are all folded up in boxes in the back. You'll see this Logan's Run poster. It was actually signed by George Clayton Johnson from when we worked together on the Deepest Dimension comic book series. And I also had enough room back here to start spreading out a whole bunch of my crazy toys that date back to the early 20th century as well, including all the stuff I found here in Ellijay. Like this crazy wooden cat here. How cool is that? I found that at a local thrift store. You just never know. Find a Wiener Schnitzel Wienel. The infamous Barbie whistle torch toy. A whistle with a spring and a Barbie head attached to the top, which is fairly inexplicable, hence very popular with people like me who collect weird toys. And this whole center island here, my dad used to keep a lot of his reference books. Now this is my crazy toy collection. More crazy toys like Robert Cop, not Robocop, but a ripoff Robert Cop. And a lot of this stuff I've had most of my life, going all the way back to when I was a kid. All my old Aurora toys and glow-in-the-dark monsters, up to contemporary stuff I've gotten through the years. My Warner Brothers stuff, a bunch of Muppety stuff, Land Before Time and other dinosaur stuff. A whole bunch of Roger Rabbit stuff that we bought when the film first came out because we were big fans. Thought that'd be real collectible. Have to have Attack of the Killer Tomato toy since that's in San Diego. From when Freddy Krueger was popular in toy stores for some bizarre reason. Even got a little bit of Freddy Krueger gum there. And a whole bunch of Simpsons stuff. Mad stuff, H.R. Puffin stuff. A whole bunch of old Pacific comic stuff. Something you probably don't see very often. A Rocketeer cassette tape that came with a comic book, a 3D comic with 3D glasses, still sealed. So, my Simpsons stuff has things like this piece of plastic was an old convention table cover that Matt Groening, the creator, drew all over, along with several other folks that were all sitting at the table. They were next to us at a convention, and we have a jam sheet now with all of us having drawn on it that I kept. And I have a whole bunch of stuff like pins, boxes of trading cards, things that I was selling on eBay for a while. And there's a lot of old card sets and things like that in here. Mostly eBay stock, like I say, things that I liked having around, but pretty much all this stuff is for sale. All was purchased with the intent for sale, with the exception of, like, the Burroughs collectibles. When it comes to the toys and stuff, especially things like the Disney toys, when I find those, they're pretty much always intended for resale. Even stuff like old retail display stuff, like that big old little Nemo board. This is one I would probably keep just because it's so neat. This is Donald the Bubble Duck. That's a pretty great toy there. You put water in that little cup, a little piece of fizz that you dropped in, a little piece of fizz foam, and it would start bubbling up under his chin. He would look like a rabid duck. That was one of the very first Donald Duck toys back in the 40s. And I really like the movie Anastasia, so I got a whole shelf full of Anastasia toys that came out along with the film. Still like that movie a lot, very underrated. If I had to pick one of my favorite Disney movies, Anastasia would always be there in the top 3. I have a lot of counterculture books. Weird Highness by mail. The old Lumponics catalog, where cartoonist Ace Backwards used to draw for before he did rock and roll comic backup stories. Some crazy books like LSD Orgy. Psychedelic Encyclopedia, big old High Times collection. A whole bunch of weird counterculture stuff. So that's my office, or rather my library. It's the first time I've had my own library in a house, because I've never actually had my own house before. All this space. So, it took me a long time to set up there, but there it is.